Welcome again to another Church Solutions episode. I think it's episode 316. Don't hold me to that, but I think it's somewhere in that category. We do this once a week.
I
My
like that
name
number,
is,
316.
you do like that number, don't you? Well, that's because there's a company called 316, right? No, it's a Bible verse, 316. Isn't there a company 316 as
I
well?
don't know, but I think the Bible verse has a little bit more brand equity.
John 316. All right. So anyhow, episode 316 here at Church Solutions Podcast. My name is Phil Thompson. Steve Lacy is not with us today. He's on a little trip. He'll be back next week here. And Mike Ray, who sometimes is here, is actually with him. So today, by the way, this Church Solutions Podcast is brought to you My Church Daily. It's brought to you by mychurchdaily.com. If you want to get on Alexa devices, if you want to have a flash briefing for your church, your ministry, mychurchdaily.com would be the place to go. And we got a 14-day free trial. Just look it up, mychurchdaily.com. But it's a great tool to connect with your people on a regular basis. And full disclosure, it's us. we made it. So anyhow, my next guest here, let me read his bio. Been around for a long time. He's the editor-in-chief at churchtechtoday.com. He also serves as chief innovation officer at churchcommunications.com. That's got like over 29,000 church leaders involved in that. He's a certified story brand copyright guide. I'm going to ask you about that in a moment. He's founder of Big Click Syndicate, and he is a strategic marketing, which is actually Big Click Syndicate is a strategic marketing advisory firm helping church leaders build marketing engines that work. And he does a lot of things, but Kenny Zhang is our guest today. Kenny, how are you?
Always good to be with you, Phil.
It is. It's good to be with you too. And you have been helping churches for a long time. I mean, how many years has it been?
I don't know. I always joke I'm closer to death than birth. It just seems like a long time.
You've been doing it a long time. And I'm just going to say right up front here, what we're going to talk about today, I think is really, really important for churches and their websites. But I just want to say off the bat that if your church needs help with social media, marketing, you've helped people get on Google and get is there like a Google grant or something?
Yeah, Google Ad Grant. Every church should consider it.
Yeah.
Google gives out $10,000 a month,
Yeah.
$120,000 a year for free.
Yeah, and so Kenny Zhang is the guy you want to talk to. We'll give you his contact information in a little bit. But today, we want to talk about something that every church probably should have on their website. And there's lots of things we've covered over the years here in the Church Solutions podcast, but I don't think we've talked about plan your next visit. This is important. Plan your next visit. And this would be on your church website. So Kenny, walk us through this a little bit. What is plan your next visit? How does it work? And why is it important?
Yeah, Phil, one of the first things that I think everyone listening here has to recognize, has to acknowledge, is that we are now in a digital age, right? And that the website is the front doormat to your church. No matter if how they hear church, what are they going to do? They're going to look you up first. The website is the place that they check you out first. And so you need to get your house in order. And when they get there, what are you going to do? Are you just going to wave at them, say goodbye to them? They go off on their merry way on the World Wide Web, and then you forget about them? Or more importantly, they might forget about you. There needs to be a way for you to get them to opt in with permission and build that relationship right there on the front steps of your church at your website. And so that's what this plan your visit option is, that a growing number of churches are recognizing this is a best practice. Once you get someone to your website, you've spent either advertising, a word of mouth, or some SEO. You've invested energy into getting people to your site. Once they get there, what are you going to do with them? And so that's what it is, to give them an option to say, yes, I want to plan a visit to the church. What does that look like? And walk them through that process. And at the end of the day, it really is a way to get their contact information and follow up with them so that they can actually get to the real front door into your actual church services or an event or program or anything that you might be hosting on behalf of your church. So at the really base of it, it's just a way to get their contact information and follow through. But there are best practice of how that gets done on the website today.
Yeah. So this is not a long podcast, but can you walk me through this a little bit? So I'm a pastor listening to this, an executive pastor. I'm thinking, yeah, that's probably a good idea. But where do I begin and how do I do it? I mean, are there forms out there? Are there simple steps? How does it even begin to make that happen?
So if you have a website, webmaster coder, they can actually build it themselves. It's usually a little pop-up that shows up or some form or call to action link that's on your homepage that says, hey, plan a visit. And then once you click on it, there's different options that typically pop up. It might be a welcome video, a short welcome video from the pastor or somebody. It'll ask you for basic information. And then it might ask you, hey, are you coming to our 9 o'clock service or 11 o'clock service? Are you coming to our Sunday service or our Wednesday service? If you're a multi-site, which campus is the closest to you? Do you have kids? Do you want to pre-register? There's this whole like choose your own adventure that you can program. So you could do it yourself, or the one that I've found that's the easiest solution to actually just plug and play is actually a company called Textingchurch. They have a widget. You just install one little snippet of code and it's all done. And then all the follow-up and automation reminders all the way to get them to church and even after they make their first visit is all set up. So that has been the easiest way that we've helped churches install plan a visit onto their website, and then it just works. It's like set it and forget it. We're in infomercial land, right? Like it literally lives there. You don't need to attend to it every single day. It just works.
So the name of that widget again, Textingchurch, is that what it was called?
Textingchurch.com. So Textingchurch.com is actually like a whole guest follow-up system, and the name is a little bit of a misnomer. They do texting, but they also do emails, and they do all these automation, workflows, reminders for your teams, etc. They do the whole shebang. But one of the key things they provide is your ability to create this plan your visit widget that just installs on your website, and it's persistent and it's easy to use, and it the user experience has been optimized so that you actually get people from your website to your church services.
So let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned follow up and reminders and all that. So part of the features on Plan Your Next Visit is not just collecting information, although that's very important. But you were talking about automatic follow. Well, maybe it's not automatic follow up, reminders. So let's say I'm looking at your church and plan your visit. Well, this seems interesting. So I fill out the form. And then I'm going to get an email probably.
Yeah, you'll get an email. You might get a text message. I mean, this is stuff that you can you can make all these decisions because, every church is different on how friendly they want to be. Sometimes even before you get to church, you can offer someone a text that says, hey, do you have anything that we can pray for you? And it might just be a, low risk, a way to get involved without even getting in church. There's so many things. Saturday night, you might want to send a reminder, or Sunday morning, you might send a reminder text with the address of the church. So there's all these things that you would want to do if it's, say, Phil, you're my friend from work, and you said you're going to visit my church this week. I would personally follow up with you on Saturday or Sunday. Hey, how you doing? You still coming? Right. By the way, here's the address, and when you get there, this is what you'll expect for parking, like park in the big lot on the left, that kind of stuff. That's all that stuff you can automate. And it just makes it, you provide a first impression before you get to the front door to provide a first impression.
Right. Yeah. Well, that sounds really good. So let's talk. And I picked this up somewhere on the web. I think it was from you. But you've got.
If it's good, it's for me. If it's bad, it's not for me.
Well, I'll throw it out here and see if you remember it. But you got a deal, 3 ways to plan your visit video impacts, and then you've got it changes their perception of the church.
Yeah.
So So address that for a moment.
I think that's a really important thing. I was sitting down so I had a chance to sit down with Tyler Smith, who's the CEO and founder of Textingchurch, and we were talking about how, you know, in our digital experiences, the user experience is so important on the website because it really impacts what you think of the church. Like the relationship starts there, even though you personally aren't there in a Zoom call or sitting next to them or having coffee with them. What happens on your website changes their perception of the church. And so if you have something that makes it easy, friendly, and just intuitive, and something that's aimed at visitors, not like the holy huddle type of websites that has insider language and it's only people that have all this jargon in there, right? Buzzword bingo. If you have something from the beginning, their first touch is geared toward strangers. I don't even call them first-time guests or VIPs, right? We have all these guest experiences. They are strangers. In fact, you are strangers to them.
Right.
So if you have that posture of being friendly to a stranger on your website in terms of language, in terms of information, anticipating their needs, then it changes the perception of the personality and the brand of the church and the people that you're going to meet on Sunday, right? Yeah. So I think that's very important.
Yeah. And then you've also got, I think I did grab this from the interview you had here. It changes the first interactions of the visit, which kind of goes along with what you just said.
So what we find is churches that have Plan Your Visit, once they get to the church and they meet a greeter or they meet the usher or they meet a connections coordinator or somebody there, that first experience changes there because they already had this pseudo type of personalization of an interaction. It's no longer the real stranger experience. They feel like they get to know you just a little bit more because you've sent them some information. You've gotten ahead of them of their visit. So that first interaction in your church changes, and that's a game changer as well, because the further along you can move that first interaction inside your church, the more likely that they will return for a second visit, right?
Yeah.
I'm more interested as a church marketer not to just get them in the door the first time. I want them to become the repeat visitor. I want to become a repeat visitor machine at the end of the day.
Yeah, I remember we used to have staff meetings about that. Is like, first timers, great, it's important, but second and third is really important.
Yes.
And I would concur. So, and then you've also got to hear about it changes the guest mindset expectations of the church.
Yeah, when you have guest follow-up, right? So even you get the connection card, you put it into your church management software, and then you might have some sequence of information that goes out afterwards. There's some churches that we've built out a 1-year email automation sequence, a full year after their first visit. And it's not just bombarding them with ads. It's talking about the community. It's getting to know the staff members. It's asking for opinions from the actual visitor. It changes the mindset of the actual visitor of what they expect from the church going forward, where it's not all about me, the church, right? The biggest barrier that we have is the churches before us have created this perception for strangers that it's all about the ABCs of church, right? It's all about attractional. Everything needs to be at the building, about the building, at the church. If it's not about the church, then it doesn't exist. The community doesn't exist. Right? B is baptisms. All we care about is baptisms and butts in seats, right? Attendance is all we care about. And then C is cashola. All we want is your money, right? And that's why we've got a bad rap in most communities. And so once we shift that orientation and we put their experience first and we make it really stranger friendly using technology, then their entire expectations, they start to open up and they start to see, where else can I get involved? It just accelerates that engagement, and it's easy and casual to dismiss, but it all started with that first interaction on your website.
Yeah, so important. We're actually redoing our website at streamingchurch.tv because it just needs a makeover. And what you're talking about even applies to us. And we're a business. I mean, we work with churches. That's what we do. But definitely need to keep those things in mind for everything. So the plan your next visit, very important deal. Something that I think is very valuable for every church, especially now as you were saying, digital is here to stay. I
Yes,
mean, we've known that for years, but I think more and more people are finally waking up to that reality. So it changes the perception of the church. It changes the first interactions of the visit, and it changes the guest mindset expectations of the church. And
yes.
expectations are really important in everything, aren't they? I mean,
Oh, yes.
in everything. If you have expectations a certain place in relationships, and you've built those expectations up so high, and then they aren't fulfilled, there's disappointment, right? I mean, we're not just talking church stuff here, we're talking
Yes. Everything.
working expectations and relationships in our lives and all that stuff. So important. So websites are very important, and having the content that you just talked about, Kenny, is also very important. So Kenny, let's talk. I mean, unless you want to add something to this, we got a few more minutes.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
but I want to talk again about the Google thing. We covered this a couple of years ago with you or longer, and this kind of ties in with what we're talking about, because you want people to be able to find you online. Tell me just for a few minutes here, while we have a few minutes left, how the whole Google, what's the technical term for it again? It's
Google Ad Grants, right? So
Google
basically,
Ad Grants. Okay, yeah,
Google has a program for
yeah,
all nonprofits. If you are a 501c3 nonprofit, if you're
right,
IRS approved as a 501c3, they have a program called Google for Nonprofits. Once you get into that program, it's free. You just apply. You have to qualify, show proof, all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
You get a bunch of benefits. One of them is that if you've been using Gmail for your church, the organizational, right, Google for
right,
Business, that
right,
workplace suite,
yeah,
it becomes free. So it's no longer 50, I think it's 50 or $55 per year per person
yeah,
for email, right?
yeah,
That gets wiped out, completely free. The second benefit, there's a bunch of benefits. The second big benefit is you can apply for the Google Ad Grant program. So Adwords is the advertising platform that Google uses. That's how Google makes their billions of dollars.
right.
And what they do is they give you credits of $10,000 in credits for you to run ads on their system for free every single month. It's use it or lose it. And the next month they'll replenish with another $10,000 in credits.
Now, let me ask you a quick question about that. Are you allowed to go in? Because I know we've used Google AdWords not only for our church but also our company, and
Yeah.
and they'll make suggestions to you, but they don't always fit. At least we don't feel like they fit what we're trying to do. So with the Google AdWords grant, I mean, when they give you $10,000 credit, I mean, is that on their terms, or can you go in and edit your content, so to speak, for the Google search, or do you
Yeah,
have to play by their rules, so to
so
speak?
there are some restrictions or some requirements, like it can't go dormant. You need to log in every couple of months and change
Right,
something. So they want to ensure that you're actively using it, right? So that's
right,
one. That's fair game. Two is there are some restrictions, like technically there's a maximum bid that you can actually bid on a keyword, because it's an
right,
auction based system.
right,
So you might bid on churches in San Diego, if you're in San Diego, that phrase, so that if someone searches that phrase, then your ad has a chance of showing up. It's all based on how much someone's willing to pay. So there's a
yeah,
bid cap that you're allowed to actually have. And then there's engagement rates. Like, they don't want to flood the system with superfluous ads. So you need to have a certain percentage of people actually click through on your ads.
right,
Again, that seems fair, right? You
right,
don't want
right,
just
yeah,
random ads to flood the system. You want relevant ads. So there's some basic
sure,
guardrails. But outside of that, it's a blank slate. You can put in as many keywords as you want. You can create as many ads as you want. So one of the first things we try to do is we build ads for every single web page on your site, because you want to maximize the $10,000. Until you maximize and spend all the house money,
right.
then you might as well create more ads. And so that's the first step we do. After we hit the 10,000, then you try to figure out strategically what you want to actually advertise, and be more careful about and choosy about what you advertise. And this is where landing pages are important. Do you have a Christmas page? that talks about your Christmas? Do you have a volunteer page about all the volunteer opportunities that people want to do good in the community? All those types of things are great ways to create content on your site, drive traffic to it for free, and then engage people afterwards.
Okay. So if I'm a small church, 150 people, 200 people roughly, I'm listening to this podcast going, oh man, can I do this? This seems awful overwhelming. I mean, a person can do it, but it takes some time and effort, especially if you've never really done it before. It's going to take a little more. There's a learning curve, right?
Absolutely.
But you guys do that. That's one of the things you do, right? You help churches get that set up. Yeah,
absolutely. In fact, we're hearing more and more churches want to learn about this. At Church Communications, our group, we do a lot of online summits, and we've got a pro membership and all this stuff. We build resources. So one of the things that we are planning for this next year is a Google for Churches online summit. It's going to be free to everybody. Everyone has full access to it. But one of the tracks we'll be talking about Google ad grants. So again, if you want to DIY it, you can definitely have a go at it. This is a great way to have volunteers from your church to potentially help with that, because there are many people like you that own businesses that might run Google AdWords for their local business, and then they can come and try to help you set it up for your own. But if you wanted to learn more about it, you can go to our website, churchcommunications.com. At the top tab, there's a navigation menu item, Google for Churches. You can learn a little bit more there too. Okay. But yes, it's something that it's completely free. There's no program cost. There's no annual fee. There's no risk. You can apply for free. You might as well try to get it. Mm-hmm. And then you might as well try on your own or find volunteers or someone who wants to learn. Right. And then if not, you can hire a resource to actually do it. It is, again, and then even hiring an outside resource, we found that is a great strategic conversation to have with some of your high capacity givers of your church. Right. And share with them that says, hey, it costs this much to manage and get $120,000 of ads a year. If you're able to donate this amount of money to support that, then we will be able to reach more people in our town, our county, our state, right? And so usually that's a very easy way to find strategic givers to help subsidize that portion so that your church doesn't even have that cost of a burden.
Yeah, because it's really an investment. I mean, if you're, it's investment can bring a return, not just financially returned, but investment in the kingdom, so to speak. People coming, people getting connected, people's lives being changed.
Absolutely.
So all right, so let's wrap this up. So the best way for people to get a hold of you, Kenny Jong, is how?
You can Google me on the internet. Internet knows where I am. Or check out our Church Communications website, churchcommunications.com, or a group, Facebook group. We just crossed 30,000 members in our group. It's a party in there. Phil, you're a part of it. It's a party inside a Church Communications group. We'd love to have you join us. Yeah,
well, that'd be good. That'd be awesome. Okay. Well, folks, again, I just want to echo this. This is the guy, if you want to go forward with your church websites and other things, social media, as well as other things that would help your church reach people and connect people, Kenny is the guy to talk to. His company can really help you. And we hope that you'll reach out to him. So, Kenny, it's a pleasure having you on the Church Solutions podcast. It's been a while. We're glad that you came back. Thank you for gracing us with your appearance.
It's always great to hang out with you. Love hanging out with you, Phil.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. All right, folks. So again, check out churchcommunications.com. Did I get that right? I've lost my notes.
Yep.
And Kenny can help you with what you're doing there as well. And if you get around to it, check out mychurchdaily.com. That's one of the things that we do here at JSL Solutions. And if we can help you in any way, we can do that. If you need more information and you've missed all this, just send us an email, support@streamingchurch.tv, and we'll connect you up. So, Kenny, I hope that you have a really good Christmas coming up here, and I hope that we can have you back on the Church Solutions podcast in the near future.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you and your family. And folks, on behalf of Steve Lacy and Michael Gray, I'm Phil Thompson. Thank you again for being a part of the Church Solutions podcast. Please take care of yourselves and each other. We'll catch you next time.